You live from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. What in the world is going on with the drones? I'm going to tell you, it is not nefarious. It's not anything. Look, there's a lot of clickbait out there. We're going to talk about it to a degree because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the nonsense and kookville out there. Also, Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, the GOP. Every once in a while, Mitt Romney comes back into the news cycle, and I've got to tell you that today I was pleasantly surprised by Mitt, who demonstrated a very rare and a very, I think, accurate and eloquent, quite frankly, description about what Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, and the GOP all mean when you roll them up together. All of that today on the right side. Drones and Trump and what we can see. Hello, Coffee House. I see you out there in YouTube land, and I hope that everyone out on X is tuning in. I'm going to give some time here to come on in, Facebook and Rumble as well today, ladies and gentlemen. The drone issue is nothing. Look, we are plagued on our side, on the conservative side, I understand, since the theft of an American presidential election back in 2020. There are a lot of kooks out there who have claimed all sorts of things. And yes, Donald Julio Vol, I understand Mitt is a snake, but today he said something that was accurate. I'll get to that in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, the right side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
And here we are. Welcome to the Right Side, ladies and gentlemen, where you become members of the most intellectually mature audience in all the podcast land. Good to see you out there, ladies and gentlemen. Donald, thanks. I'm glad. First-time watcher of the show. I'm glad that you heard us in Spaces over on X and you decided to check out the show. I appreciate you very, very much. I'm going to talk today about these drones, but I'm only going to talk for a little bit. It reminds me, as I'm looking throughout the news, now not that I was alive back then, 86 years ago, we had a story that broke across this country. I believe it was on Halloween, 86 years ago. Orson Welles, who got his start in radio and later became one of the best, I think, American directors of film in history, hosted a little show, you may have heard of it, called War of the Worlds, aired 86 years ago in the entire country. Well, at least certain swaths of the country went absolutely crazy with fear because they thought that we were being invaded by Mars, War of the Worlds and so forth. And I don't know if it's because we've been lied to so much by our government or we've had so many kooky theories put out there over the last 4 years, kooky theories that come from our side of the fence, by the way, the right side of the fence, that somehow these kooky theories and so forth and abject nonsense that have been thrust upon us make us feel uneasy, or they make us feel anxious in some form or fashion. It may be a combination of all of that. And I mean, you remember these things, devolution. Remember 4 years ago when Trump was ripped off of the American presidential election? Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, there's executive orders that have been put in place. Trump is still the commander in chief and the military is running our country. Remember those nut jobs? Or the letter, the 17th letter of the alphabet, if you're from Raytown, Missouri, Q. It is absolute nonsense. And so we've been plagued by all of this stuff. And whenever something like these drones happens, we tend to, unfortunately, believe far too many people who are just putting out clickbait. They'll put out the most extraordinary stories just so that you click on them and so that they get paid. I don't get paid a dime for putting out any show. The only way I get paid is if you good people voluntarily go over to dougbillings.us, my website, set up that monthly recurring. That's how I not only make a living, but it's how I keep this show produced and how I continue. I'm able to deliver it to you free of charge. I never charge anyone to watch the program. So I depend on the good graces of you good people out there. And we've been doing this. I say we, it's just me, been doing this for 4 years, and I'm glad that you're there. You have become the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land because we refuse to yield to clickbait. We refuse to go off the deep end. We are not going to live in Kookville. We're going to live and work and react within reality. So I do have empathy and compassion for all of the people that get, caught up in the clickbait. They don't know any better. Well, Doug, we've got drones the size of SUVs flying over New Jersey. How in the hell do you know that? You don't know that. Just because somebody said it on the internet, big as SUVs, these drones, you don't know. Nobody knows what's going on. But here's what I think that we can all agree on. We have a government that has not always been honest with us, to put it lightly and to say the least, right? So at most, what we have here is a secret government operation, and they might not be telling us all about it. Maybe they're even lying to a degree. I wouldn't put that past them. Or at the very least, you've got a bunch of yahoos out there with money and expensive toys who are just flying these things to drive people bonkers. And that's what they're doing, and they're being successful at it. Now, I don't know. Oh, Doug, no. These things are coming up out of the water, man. They're as big as SUVs. I read on the internet that there's an Iranian mothership. I mean, nobody knows for certain because people are claiming things on the internet. People go crazy. They run with it. And I'm not blaming any of you who may have been tempted to believe that nonsense. I'm not blaming you, but I am here to guide you back into reality. And I'm here because that's what I do. I tell you the truth. I tell you where to look and where not to look and to disassociate from people who would steer you in the wrong direction. We need to take inventory of what we know. We need to make sense of this with our intellect and with fact, not with rampant speculation and theories. So look, you guys, for 4 years, I've been telling you I'm thinking here, since the day Biden took office, I've been telling you that there are very bad people coming into this country because of the open border policy. I have said there are very bad people coming into this country making plans to do very bad things here on our soil. Okay, this is not new news. You all know this. I mean, I've said it for 4 years. They want to do harm. They want to hurt us. They are not good people. And Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris purposefully let them in, along with the hierarchy of their communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, right? It wouldn't surprise me if there's missing nuclear material somewhere in the world. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of nuclear material that you can make a thermonuclear bomb with. I'm talking about the kind of nuclear material that it takes to make what's called a dirty bomb. That's perhaps a very real possibility out there, and it's frightening. I don't know if drones have the capacity to, for lack of a better term, to sniff out nuclear material. I would, if I was forced to make a guess, I would guess not. But maybe they can. Maybe they can. I don't know. You see, I do not know. The drones are, I do know this. They are not, these drones are not some secret weapon from Iran. Look, I know Iran has drones, but look, in all practical senses, and really, they wouldn't have any of that if it weren't for Russia, perhaps China, perhaps both. Iran itself is basically just out of the Bronze Age, ladies and gentlemen, and if it wasn't for those other countries helping them, they wouldn't be able to do any of this, and they can't. There's no Iranian mothership, another one that I read on the internet the other day, that has dozens and dozens and dozens of these coordinated drones that are flying. And it's not that. When our government says things like, well, we don't know what they are, but there's no present threat. which doesn't on the surface seem to make any sense. We don't know what they are, but they represent no threat. That's almost a verbatim quote from the State Department and the Pentagon. All right. That's government speak for we don't know what they are, or rather, we know what they are, and it's none of your business what they are, and they are no threat. So the government, although we may not like it, has the right to say that. It's none of your business. There are certain things that are top secret. We may not like that. The government should be transparent. We should know everything. Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I understand people who go down that road. They need to be more transparent with us. We can debate whether or not it's our business or not to know these kinds of things. If the government is conducting some sort of a secret operation out there and testing these drones on whatever exercise they're doing, I could see that they're going to call this thing top secret, that they're going to deny knowing much about it, if anything, but they'll say just enough to say it's not a threat. So that's government speak. We're not sure. We know what they are. They don't represent a threat. Or when they say we don't know what they are, but they don't present a threat, even though that sounds crazy, it's government speak. That's what it is. They've done that for decades. So we have to take a step back out of Kookville, climb back up onto the ledge of reality, and begin to think about it. Thanks, Rain Man. People who hope it's aliens are legit brain dead. I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree. But we have to be nice and welcome them back gently with compassion. We want them on our side, but we want them in reality, not Kookville. So we have to be careful of people who say or demand things that sound like this. The American people deserve to know the truth about these drones. We have to be careful about those statements because honestly, that depends on what the purpose of the drones is. I mean, the public doesn't have the right to know everything that the government is doing exactly at that moment when the public is demanding it. You know what I mean? We sometimes have to wait. Sometimes we have to wait years for things to be declassified. And those things are there, and those classifications are there for a reason. National security is real. That's a real thing. And keeping things secret for a time is a necessity. Thank you, Hyped Luke. I see your comment there on YouTube. Thank you. John Kirby came out with a statement saying they are civilian craft operated lawfully. All right. Well, so that's there's John Kirby saying what John Kirby does, and there you have it. And here, can our government be at least a little bit more forthright with us? Of course they can. And I think we'll see that with President Trump. But even President Trump's not going to say everything. Did you notice in the press conference that he gave today, President Trump down at Mar-a-Lago, which, by the way, just a very short side note, President Trump's press conference today was an hour and 15 minutes long. That is longer than any press conference that Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris had combined. Okay? True story. And he was asked about the drones if he had a briefing on it, and he says, I'm not going to comment about that right now. So Trump is getting briefed about them. And Trump probably knows what the drones are, and he can't say. So not even President Trump can say everything. There is a thing, again, called national security. I just want people to take a breath about these drones. Yeah, because the thing about this is, and when I say the government should be more forthright, what I mean when I say that is the radical liberal element of our government. They've done this for the past 4 years. They have created purposeful chaos, purposeful crisis. They have not been honest with us. They're not forthright. And so we have this new reflex where we're skeptical and we jump to speculative conclusions about what these things might really be or what the government tells us. And I don't blame anybody for jumping to conclusions and doubting what the government says. Believe me, I'm not coming down. Hype, Luke. I didn't realize civilians had SUV-sized drones. Well, the thing is, Luke, you don't know that. Just because somebody says they're SUV-sized on the internet doesn't prove it. None of us know. That's my point. That's what I said at the beginning of the show. None of us know the size of these dang drones. Nobody understands really what they are. I think maybe what if this is it? Maybe I should just say it's me. And here's what I've got. I've got 17 dozen. For those of you that are in the kook movement, you're going to go, oh, look, he said 17. There's a secret meaning in that. And there's not. Look at this. Maybe it's a Trump drone. Maybe it's me and President Trump playing a joke on everybody, and that's what we've got flying around the New Jersey suburbs or the New Jersey countryside or over whatever piece of land that you want to talk about. But I don't want to make fun of people, and I'm not. I just want to tell you that there's a lot of overreaction and a lot of clickbait. So I think my hunch is that this is a high-tech nothing burger. You're going to either see the government conducting some exercises on, testing drones and their capability. We pray to God they're not out there sniffing for nuclear lost material. We pray that's not true. We don't know if that's the truth or not. But we'll see what's going on. I don't think this is some sort of a red flag event that's going to prevent the inauguration. The inauguration will happen, whether it's on the streets of the Capitol or in a bunker. The inauguration is going to happen, okay? It's not going to be delayed by anything. Our government is going to continue to function. So, all right. Well, there's that. All right. I got that off my chest. There it is. And now I want to talk about President Trump. This press conference that he gave today, it's been 5 weeks since the election. And the world is recognizing his leadership in record time. And it's a lot different, look, than it was in 2016. Back then, it took some time for the world leaders to warm up to him, to get used to him. They had to overcome what they saw in America from the radical left, the immediacy of the resist movement that was born in 2016. You remember that, right? Resist, resist, resist. The minute that he won that election, they began to make plans for impeachments, the Russia hoax, China hoax, all of it. They began to do it then. And so the world leaders today, though, it's a much different ballgame. They are calling him in record numbers and record fashion, wanting to work with him. You've already seen people come to visit him. You have the poster boy for the wussification of men, Justin Trudeau from Canada, come down to Mar-a-Lago, kiss Trump's ring, beg and plead the tariffs aren't imposed on Canada, and we'll see what happens. But that's the Trump effect. You see all sorts of things. You see things that never happened with Administrator Biden or Vice Pretender Harris. There's a wide range of topics that were discussed today, and not just, the passion that was coming from Trump in this press conference was a two-way street. The press corps was actually, you could sense the enthusiasm they had. Finally, we can do our job. Finally, we've got a president who will talk to us, who can stand there and carry on a conversation with us instead of reading from cards and calling on people where the questions are already written down and the answers are there handed to him. Finally, we can have a free-for-all press conference where we can all do our job. They were excited about it. Even I know there's enemies of Trump's in that room, but they were all happy to begin to engage again. You could just tell. So happy, I think relieved, all of that. Finally had the chance to work with a president who doesn't doze off or have to go to the restroom in the middle of the press conference. And so it's a freestyle format. Trump is a master at it. And the highlight was the visit from the SoftBank of Japan CEO and chairman, Masayoshi Son, who promised $100 billion investment to the United States, plus 100,000 jobs that come along with it. And within 5 weeks of the election, we've seen all sorts of things begin to happen with our country because of President Trump's election. You've got Hamas over there in the Middle East now calling for peace. Oh, we want a peace deal. We see Trump coming. Hang on. Oh, let's get peace. We want peace, please. Putin is now going to sell oil using the U.S. dollar instead of instead of the new currency that he and Turkey and China and other countries have begun, to talk about. So Putin is on board just because of the election. Mexico, you've heard, closing the border, stopping the drug flow. I know the president of Mexico hemmed and hawed a little bit, but she's shutting the border. European Union is going to start buying American natural gas again. You've got Elon and Vivek out in the wings with Doge. They've promised to cut $2 trillion from excess, wasteful government spending. And you've got over 100,000 lazy and wussified federal employees who are going to quit their jobs because they don't want to go back into the office to work. Well, we can't work from home. I'm going to quit. Good. Do the work for us. Because I've got news for you, folks. There's going to be massive layoffs. We've got it, and that's one thing we've got to wrap our heads around. There's going to be massive layoffs. The Department of Education, gone. President Trump and tariffs. It's a real deal. In the 1860s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's how the United States funded itself. Do not believe the liberal whack jobs, either on social media, here on X or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you see them, or the legacy media when they talk about tariffs and how it's going to raise prices. We have other victories. I mean, ABC and George Stephanopoulos, how could I forget about them? $15 million for claiming that Trump's a rapist. He's not a rapist. Did you know that Trump's attorney was not able to put on a defense at all in that E. Jean Carroll case? It's going to come back up. They're going to have a real trial about that. They're all going to go back to trial, and E. Jean Carroll is not going to get a cent. And they're going to sue the hell out of her. Just watch. Mark this program and come back to it. I mean, in the Stephanopoulos ABC $15 million deal, a large portion of that money has got to go. This is what's great. A large portion of that settlement has got to go to the construction of the Trump Presidential Library. So Trump's even getting his enemies to build his library for him. I mean, if that's not winning, I don't know what is. It's absolutely glorious to see that. So much winning. And so he said in the press conference, he's getting calls from hundreds of world leaders. He's trying to get back to them as soon as he can. Everybody wants an audience with President Trump, and who can blame them? They all know what Trump knows, and that is Trump knows the game now. This is going to be a lot different than it was in 2016. The lies coming from the radical left, the Washington, D.C. bureaucracy, and the legacy media are going to intensify, and they've already demonstrated that they've done no credible self-reflection at all. The radical left and members of the Rhino Swamp establishment as well, they've done no credible self-reflection about why they lost this election. In fact, in many cases, they're doubling down on their wackiness. The bureaucracy has sucked at the teat of the federal government for so long and for multiple decades that they will not go quietly into the night. This is a good gig if you can get it, in their view, and they don't want it to end. But if there was ever a person called in and, in fact, designed to do this, it's President Trump. The new Avengers assemble, this new team that Trump has all around him. I mean, from Kash Patel to Tom Homan to Will Scharf to Pete Hegseth, all of them. It's going to be the age of MAGA. And ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be glorious to behold. You're going to see so many things. That's why, as I often say, the sun is brighter. Even on cloudy days, the sun seems brighter because of the attitude that Trump brings with him back into this country and into the world. So it's very, I think, important that we realize what Trump represents and what he is to the Republican Party. Trump has rebranded the Republican Party. I saw, there are people out there on the left who absolutely were in a panic when Trump began to make his picks. And here's a montage of what they had to say. They are freaking out about this. No, never mind, of course, that Biden put up transgendered wackadoodles, kooks, and all sorts of crazy people who never had the experience to do anything remotely similar to what they've been asked to do. Never mind that. Take a look at the montage.
President-elect Donald Trump has just announced a new name to be added to his incoming administration.
You're exactly right. He's just flooding the zone with shit to hope to get maybe other appointees down the line, because they got to absorb these bunch of idiots, right, that are coming out right now.
Oh my God. I mean, those of us who have spent our lifetime, kind of decades working in and around in HHS, I'm not kidding, Nicole, my texts are flying off the chain, both Democrats and Republicans saying, this can't be real. Someone must have gotten this wrong. This can't be possible. And now the second underlying chain, there's some silver linings. The second thought I had is, he can't get confirmed, can he? But
I don't know what you want me to say. I am just at a loss because we're watching something happen in slow motion that is terrifying. You know, the reason we have a great country is because there are pillars in place. There are columns and structures, just like in your house, columns and pillars that you don't see, but they keep things in a good place. They keep things in a good direction. We have healthy children because there are people who've made sure that there are things in place for that. And right now we're seeing termites unleashed on everything. And this is a termite appointment. We know for sure that Bobby Kennedy is a vaccine denier. He's a vaccine denier. He denies being a denier. But
this is the absolute triumphant takeover of the Republican Party by MAGA. And it will be the takeover of the U.S. government by MAGA if the Senate lets all of these people.
So you see, that's right. Raskin, for once, it was telling the truth. We are the MAGA movement in Washington, D.C. now, and we do represent the GOP. MAGA is the GOP. Trump plus MAGA equals the GOP. The last couple of guys, you also saw Van Jones in there freaking out about it. Now, today, I saw a clip of Van Jones, and he's been doing some self-reflecting and some credible self-reflecting about why the radical left liberal Commune Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, lost and has lost their base. Take a look and a listen to Van Jones.
We are way off. The entire political class is way off. First of all, digital is a new door knocking. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that. We were laughing our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. Mm-hmm. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. They're in a 24-hour digital surround sound that has nothing to do with CNN, has nothing to do with any stuff that we do. I asked I got a teenage son, I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Aiden Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital. What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't. And it's not just Democrats that don't.
It's true. Van Jones is spot on. The legacy media is now the fringe. They are dead. We, you and I, ladies and gentlemen, we represent the avenues of news in this country now. The legacy media is dead, and on their death certificate, it says as cause of death, suicide. They've killed themselves, and the radical left has done no self-reflection. They are doubling down on the radical ideas that absolutely drove John and Jane Doe from the streets of America. John and Jane Doe, who may well have voted for Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris 4 years ago, but who, after they saw the purposeful chaos and crisis that Biden and Harris caused in this republic, they said, no, this is not what I signed up for. This is not the America I know. The Democrat Party converted itself into a commune socialist party, and it is not a pro-America political party. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. All you got to do is look at what they've done. Every one of their policies, politics, and platforms leads to chaos and crisis. I mean, the border is the most obvious example. But you can go down a list of everything else that they've tried to do. They don't prosecute violent criminals with extreme prejudice. They let people out early, and they don't ever. Did you notice there was no cries for gun control when Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was assassinated? Not one shrill liberal voice for gun control. But today, and God bless the student and the teacher who was killed and all of the victims today at the shooting in Wisconsin, God bless them all. Here come the radical left out of the woodwork. It's the guns. It's the guns. Ladies and gentlemen, it's mental health, and it's also the radical left's inability to prosecute violent criminals with extreme prejudice. If we would give them full sentences, we have enough laws on the books to keep these people in jail for life or to put them to death. If the radical left would just do that, except you know this, there's story after story after story of radical left district's attorneys and state's attorneys general who don't prosecute with extreme prejudice, and they let out early, if they're even sentenced at all to jail. And then we have Mitt Romney, who had a bit of an epiphany today or over the weekend. He came out and actually demonstrated that he was able to self-reflect about what President Trump means and what J.D. Vance means. And in this clip, you'll hear Mitt Romney admit that Trump got it right. He knew what to do. He went to places the radical liberals didn't go, and he took the base away from them. We are now, the MAGA conservative movement is the movement of the people, the grassroots people, the salt of the earth people of this republic. The radical left is filled with academic kooks and woke military and people who can't face adversity, challenge, and tragedy without having a pallet of bricks and rocks delivered to a street corner so that they can throw them through a storefront window. But Mitt Romney, he's a snake. He's not one of us. He's not our friend, but he did say and state the truth and had evidence of good self-reflection as far as what President Trump and J.D. Vance represent.
Now the Republican Party.
Oh, MAGA is the Republican Party, and Donald Trump is the Republican Party today. And if you were to ask me who the nominee will be in 2028, I think it'll be J.D. Vance, all right? He's smart, well-spoken, part of the MAGA movement.
You said something pretty harsh about him a few months ago, though. You could not have less respect for somebody than J.D.
Long ago. I'm not going to rehash history. And we've worked together in the Senate since then. But I you know, that is what the Republican Party is. And will the party need to change? Look, the Republican Party has become the party of the working class, middle class voter. And you've got to give Donald Trump credit for having done that, taken that away from the Democrats. Democrats pushed him out. All right, the Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren faction of the Democrat Party with some of this, you know, defund the police and transgenders or excuse me, biological males in women's sports. All these things had a lot of people in the middle class just flee the Democratic Party. They're now Republicans. Now, one of the challenges in my party is that our policies do not necessarily line up with the interests of our voters. And so there'll be some reorientation that's going to be necessary in my party. The Democrat Party is the one in trouble. I mean, I don't know how they recover. And, you know, I'm not going to tell them what to do because I would begin to have the capacity to do so. But they've lost their base. I mean, union guys and gals have left the Democratic Party and are voting Republican. And the Democratic Party is seen not as rich people, but as college professors and woke scolds.
Well, and that's it. I mean, he's spot on about all of it. Say what you want about Mitt, and I'm not saying that he's one of us necessarily, but he's spot on right there. Trump has completely rebranded the GOP. MAGA is the GOP now. And we have an heir apparent. We have the standard bearer in J.D. Vance, who, if he continues to prove himself as he's already begun to do, he will be the president in 2028 and in 2032. He's only 40 years old. That's what we need. That's the trend we need. And so you're going to see Vance. We're going to have the White House for 12 years, folks. Just watch. And the radical left Democrat Party does not exist anymore. It's the Communist Socialist Party. They are not a pro-America party. And to Romney's point, look at the things that party is talking about. Look at their platform. Transgenderism, just as one example. The fiction of gender misappropriation, that God makes mistakes when he makes human beings. Gender misappropriation is a fiction. Yet members of that political party dare to advocate to children, for example, that in order for them to be happy, they have to mutilate their genitalia. It's barbaric, it's medieval, and I know those words are gruesome, but they need to be said because that's the truth. That's the discussion. You see, their number one goal is to move the social and political needle as far to the left as possible. That's why we had Kamala and Tim as their president and vice president candidates. They were never going to win, ladies and gentlemen. Never. This thing was never close. For those of you that watch the show, my show, and see me on X Spaces and other places, you know, I've been saying this for 4 years. It's never, and as soon as they named Walz, it was over and done. Kamala was bad enough. No matter who she chose, she would have lost, but they lost in record fashion because they chose Tim Walz, which leads me to conclude the only possible conclusion: the presidency was not their number one goal this time. Their number one goal is, as it's been, is to move the social and political needle as far to the left as possible. And as evidence to that point, I put forth what I just said about gender misappropriation and children. Those are the things that they put forth, just to name one example. The border, women and men and women's sports, all of that. Kookville, the LGBTQ kook movement, all of it. John and Jane Doe on the streets of America are going, not in my country, not on my watch. And they lost in record fashion. And the radical left has yet to really do any credible self-reflection on any of that. You see one or two examples like you did in Van Jones here that I just showed you. But other than that, they're doubling down. Let them do it. Let them do it, because they're going to continually drive more and more people to our side, the right side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget DougBillings.us. Please head over there, DougBillings.us. You know that I never charge you for this show, never would. You can watch this thing, listen to it on all of the major podcast platforms. Check us out. Follow us on Twitter, on YouTube. Please like and subscribe us everywhere. YouTube, X, Rumble, do it all. And wherever you like to listen to podcasts, I'm out there as well, except on Spotify. Spotify canceled me. I'm too conservative for Spotify. I'm going to have to appeal that. So at any rate, DougBillings.us. DougBillings.us is where you can go to support me. If you like me, I'm a one-man operation over here. It's how I make a living. It's how I present the show to you. It's how I produce the show. A monthly recurring donation, $5, $10, $15, whatever, at DougBillings.us. I would appreciate it very much. We are in this thing together, ladies and gentlemen, for the Republic, aren't we? You and I. I'm glad that you're out there. Believe it, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.